Ben has surveyed their 20 classmates about the number of cars in their household and received the following data. So this data represents the number of cars in each household of the 20 classmates surveyed. We want to construct a frequency table and a relative frequency table. We know this is basically quantitative data, and we know this type of quantitative data is discrete. So we obviously can actually create a simple frequency table and a relative frequency table for them. And then the graph that we're going to represent this data with is going to be the histogram, which is basically the best way to represent quantitative data. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy the data and I will paste it into Excel. And now I need to create the table. I can basically select this table and then copy it and paste it over here. But I can also say this is just the number of cars. And then here I'm going to have frequency, and here I'm going to have relative frequency. So it's not going to be a big deal. Now I need to determine the first number that I'm going to have and the last number that I'm going to have. The easiest way to do that is to find the minimum and to find the maximum. So to find the minimum, I'm going to type equals and the function min. I will double click it and I want to find the minimum in my data. So I selected my data. I click enter. I did something wrong here. The range shifted. So let me do that again. Select it and then enter. So the minimum is 0. And to find the maximum, I'm going to use the function max. So equals max, double click, select the data and click enter. So I have a 0 to 6. I know that these are my categories or the number of cars. So I'm just going to say 0, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter. And I don't want to just keep going because sometimes the numbers are all the way to 30. So what I can do here, I can select the data as if I'm copying it. Now this is going to teach Excel how the pattern is going. And now I'm going to take this corner and I'm going to hold it and drag it down, populating until I reach the number I need, which is number 6. As you can see, it appears next to my cursor right there. You can always create a table. It doesn't matter how big it is. And then to create the table, here is an easier way. You can say Control T, and this is going to ask you, you want to create a table here. So you're going to say, okay. So instead of clicking insert and then a table, you can basically say Control T, hold them at the same time. And then the command is going to pop up for you and you will be able to create your table. So I'm just going to delete the information that I created here. 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I can populate from here until I reach 6. And then I need the frequencies for each of these numbers of cars. So I'm going to use count if function again. So count if, and it's asking me about the range. So the range is this, my raw data. And don't forget to lock it in place using fn and the function f4. If you're on a laptop, if you are on a desktop, it's going to be only the function button F4. If you are on Mac, it's going to be Command T. Then comma, because the formula says here separate them with comma, and then the criteria, I want 0. So I'm just going to click on the 0 because I want this to populate down. Now it's going to spell down, and it has given me the information I need. What I can do, I just can remove this part of the table. I don't want that part of the table. The relative frequency can be done with dividing each of the frequencies with the sum of the frequencies. I know the sum of the frequencies has to be 20, but I want to just to be more precise here, and I want to see if that is the case. So I'm just going to find the sum of all frequencies. I type equals sum, double click, and then I select my frequencies, enter. That is 20. Now I will find the relative frequency. So the relative frequency is equal to, I type equal to each of these frequencies. So I'm just going to click on the first frequency divided by 20. I will type the word or the number 20 because I don't want that number to change. And then I'm going to click enter. And as you can see, it computed everything else for me. I don't want all of this, so I'm just going to delete it. And I will put here total. So I know this is basically the total, and that's the end of my table. Now I created the frequencies and the relative frequencies. I can go ahead and put the answers in here. Notice how this says round relative frequencies to 2 decimal places. Imagine like these numbers are not rounded to 2 decimal places, and they are numbers that have more than 1 decimal place. So here is the trick to rounding using Excel. I'm just going to make this bigger for now. So here is the thing. Let me type a random number, 0. That's a random number that I just came up with. And as you can see, this number is not rounded to 2 decimal places. I know I can round it to 2 decimal places easily using Excel. So to do that, click on that number cell that has the number. And then from the Home tab, you'll see there is a number section. This number section has decreased decimal and increased decimal. So I'm just going to decrease the decimal because this just shows me fewer decimals, which is going to be rounding these decimals for me until I have 2 decimal places. So I will click and click and click until I have 2 decimal places. Now this rounded the number for me to 2 decimal places without me even thinking about that. Let's say I made a mistake and the question is saying you should round to 3 decimals instead of 2 decimals. I can fix that easily by adding or increasing decimals. So I'm going to add 1 more decimal to that. This is going to be useful in the future. Please practice this concept. Another way to represent relative frequency sometimes is to display the percentages instead of displaying decimals. I know like percentages are not numbers that we can operate on, and we need to convert them back into decimals. Let's say I computed the relative frequency and I wanted to convert it into percentages. So I can select the column of numbers that I want to convert, or I want to round, or I want to do anything with. And to convert these decimals into percentages, I can basically select the column that I want to convert, or the single number that I want to convert. And then I am going to go to the Home tab, again to this number section, and then click on percentage. And this is going to give me a percentage. Let me say I want my percentage to be more precise, and it was 3 digits like this one. So if I just click on the percentage, it's going to automatically turn it into a whole percentage. And I want that precision in the percentage. I want that precision by rounding that percentage into 1 decimal place, because initially it has 3 digits in it. To do that, I can click on increase decimal, and that is going to be more precise, and this is the number that I can come up with. Let me say I wanted to convert these into decimals. So to convert them back, I click on the number or numbers, select the numbers that I want to convert, and then I will use this comma style in order to convert it. So I'm just going to convert it back, and then I see that it didn't give me 3 decimals, so I'm just going to increase the decimals. So I will see all of my decimal numbers. Same here for a group of them. I'm going to compute or add that comma style, and then I can increase. You can see here all of the third numbers are zeros. Okay, so this is one part of the subject, which is organizing quantitative data. Now, the other part is creating the histogram. The easiest way probably to create this histogram is by creating a bar graph and then closing the gaps between the bars. That would be easier. So to create this histogram, to select the frequency only because we have 2 columns and both of them are numbers, the Excel is not going to understand that the first column is labels and the second column is frequencies. So I'm just going to make it understand that. Go to the Insert tab and then select Bar Graph and then click Enter. Notice here that the labels of the x-axis are not accurate. They're supposed to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can change that by go to the Select Data. And then you see here, I'm just going to edit it. It's going to ask me for a suggestion. So I'm just going to select the labels and then click OK. And that is going to change them from 0 to 6. The second thing that I'm going to do is I can just delete the chart title here. I need these bars to touch one another. So I'm just going to double click on them until I highlight all of them. And then go to this dialog box right here and click on the histogram shape. And I need to close the gap. See that you can't see like the difference between them. So I'm just going to go to the color tab and I will change the fill to a different color, or the border to a different color that is distinctively different from the blue color that I have here. And that's it. It's going to show it beautifully. Also, you can show the data on it, so data labels to see the frequencies of each bar. You can add axis titles if you want to, and then edit these to match what you have, and etc. So this is probably the easiest way to create a histogram for discrete data. And again, I'm saying discrete data, not continuous data.